Stephen Hayes on with us now. Steve, are you there?
Senator, how are you?
I'm doing good. You're doing a great job on television, man. Don't let them take you away from your first love. Or maybe that's your first love now.
No, writing's my first love for sure.
All right. Stick with it, my man. Steve, tell me, there's so much to talk about with regard to what's happening to the intelligence community now. I don't know to what extent you've had a chance to go through the documents that were released from the Inspector General, the so-called Cheney memos that were released. Can you give us some feel for what you're getting from what you've been through so far?
Yeah, I've read them all, and I guess my general sense is that the substance of it seems to me the most interesting thing. I had expected that we would see, basically Abu Ghraib without the pictures, that we were going to hear of details of some really horrific acts that were performed by presumably what would have been regarded as rogue interrogators, but that the details would be awful. I mean, this
some
is really
new things.
New things, right. And it turns out that this is all old. I mean, the report itself is 5 years old. The stories have been almost all reported before this week. And, while you don't want to minimize the seriousness of this, at the same time, it seems to be the case that the worst of these was that one interrogator had racked a gun near the head of one of the detainees and later used a drill to scare him and suggested that he might do harm to his family. Now, again, you don't want to minimize those things.
Sure.
But these are not, this is not Abu Ghraib all over again. And what comes through in reading the report is just how little we actually did.
Well, that's exactly the reaction I had from I picked up off the National Review site last night a summary of what had been reviewed so far, and I was looking. The only thing I saw new there were the family threats and so forth. And I was kind of taken aback here that there was more than one paragraph dealing with the fact that a guy blew cigar smoke in al-Nashiri's face during interrogation.
Yeah, and when you read this, a couple things to say. It's clear from the Inspector General report. The Inspector General was John Helgerson, former Inspector General of the CIA. It's very clear from reading the report that he is, I think, opposed to the use of enhanced interrogation techniques. He goes out of his way at several different times to suggest that our use of enhanced interrogation techniques is tantamount to torture, which to me is putting the findings of the report before you get to the findings of the report. It's in the body of the report.
Inspector General is not the Supreme Court of the United States.
Right, exactly.
Mulcahy pointed that out when he was Attorney General.
Right.
These are employees, and they're factual people.
There's a lot in the substance of the report that goes to the efficacy of the tactics. Of the techniques, and I think reasonable people can and do have different opinions about the morality of using enhanced interrogation. I get that. I personally think.
And where you draw the line and what does constitute torture.
Absolutely, and that's a fair debate, and we should have that debate. It's worth having. But I think what's no longer really in dispute is that they worked. You go through and you see in detail in this report.
And he acknowledges that.
Well, written by a man who I think goes to great lengths to avoid coming to this conclusion but can't help himself. And what he says is, after Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who is an accomplished resistor, was the way they described him, gave up basically inaccurate, incomplete information in his very first interrogations, he was subjected to enhanced interrogation techniques and gave up everything. Just started picking off plots, plotters, coming attacks, potentially, the names of terrorists, people who were literally on the ground in the United States ready to commit acts, sleeper agents here. Ayman Ferris, who some of your listeners may remember, was plotting to blow up trucks in Ohio. He came from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Padilla and plans to detonate uranium-topped dirty bombs in either Washington, D.C. or New York. Why do you think this is being done now, Stephen?
It's a good question. I mean, I think there's reason to be suspicious that this is to distract from the troubles he's having on health care. I guess, having done a little reporting on it, I don't necessarily believe that.
About 30
I don't
seconds,
necessarily believe that the president wanted this stuff out. I mean, if they did, they calculated very badly, I think.
Well, that's something that's going to be debated for some time, Stephen, but I appreciate your insight as someone who's actually read the materials. Thank you for joining us today.